I'm Sarah Curitan, the Executive Director of the New Jersey Historical Commission, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this second in our series of very special webinars focused on creative placemaking and the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States, which will be here in just about 3 years. I want to just start by really welcoming all of you to be here and dispelling maybe some of the misperceptions out there about the 250th. First being that, hey, it's a long way off. We've got a lot of time. There's plenty of time to get ready. Really, we're just over 3 years away from the July 4th commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So it really is right around the corner. So now's the time to start planning. Second, a lot of folks think it's just about the history of the American Revolution. And certainly that's central to this commemoration. But we are looking really at the whole 250 years since the signing of the Declaration and the years prior to that. So we welcome all historical organizations and arts organizations, everyone, to take part in this commemoration because we really feel it's terribly important that this really be something that belongs to all of us. And that all of these stories, just like the beautiful one that you just saw that we worked on with Monument Lab, that all of those stories are spotlighted and shared. So with that, I'm just delighted to turn this over to Mark Lawrence, who's our Chief Public Historian, to get us started on this morning's program. Mark?
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you everyone for joining us for our second webinar and the Placemaking for the 250th, a roadmap for RevolutionNJ Communities Workshop Series. This one's entitled Planning for the 250th, a how-to guide for placemaking. If you joined us for our first webinar series, you saw how we discussed the idea of placemaking and why it makes sense for commemorating the 250th as a way to kind of include the public and bring in some more civic engagement. Our speakers discussed the different ways in which various stakeholders can work together to incorporate history and community planning and the positive impacts this can have on the social life and also the economic life of a town or community. Today, we pick up on this conversation, diving into concrete examples of how one can start planning for the 250th. Our speakers today will show what planning can look like, what steps are necessary in identifying and activating cultural and historical assets, and what support is currently available in the state to do this kind of work. We'll be releasing recordings of both webinars alongside a resource list in the coming week. Please keep a lookout for any updates concerning future programs in this placemaking series, including a number of workshops in the late spring of this year. Our first speaker today is Kaitlin Bundy. Kaitlin Bundy is the manager of the Cultural and Heritage Commission and Strategic Initiatives for the Office of Planning, Policy, and Economic Development in Somerset County, New Jersey, where she advances local arts, cultural, and history programs and services to benefit Somerset County residents, local cultural organizations, and tourism. She is the treasurer of the Association of NJ Cultural and Heritage Agencies, chair of the Somerset County Tourism Council, and a member of the Somerset County Business Partnerships Emerging Leaders. Kaitlin learned an MPS in Arts and Cultural Management from the Pratt Institute and a BA in Visual Arts from Ramapo College. She has a certificate in Paralegal Studies from Fairleigh Dickinson University and in Creative Placemaking from NJIT. Kaitlin is a 2019 alumni of Lead NJ and was named the top 40 under 40 leader in Somerset County by the Somerset County Business Partnership. In addition to her professional career, Kaitlin volunteers as a scenic artist for nonprofit theaters in New Jersey and lends her artistic talents at charitable events. Thank you so much, Kaitlin, for joining us today.
Hi everyone. Thank you. All right, I'm going to jump right into my PowerPoint as Mark already gave you the bio. Just give me 1 second to share that screen. All right, Mark or Nicole, Noel, if you can give me just a thumbs up or something that
we're all good.
Perfect. So hi everyone, again, my name is Kaitlin Bundy and I work with the Somerset County Cultural and Heritage Commission. I wanted to start off my presentation by kind of focusing on just giving you a little bit of information on what the Culture and Heritage Commission is, because as Mark mentioned, resources and who can we work with, and that's important. Every county has some version of a Culture and Heritage Commission. We are not all structured the same. Sometimes we're commissions, sometimes we're council, sometimes we're culture and heritage affairs. In some counties, the history and the arts elements are kind of separated out, but there is some version or entity of us in each of the counties, and hopefully you are connected with them, or hopefully we can help you connect with them in the future. So we are a Office of County Government here in Somerset County. We fall under the Office of Planning, Policy, and Economic Development, and our mission really is to educate and enrich the lives of county residents by providing programs and services that preserve, promote, and protect the culture and heritage in Somerset County. We do that through a number of programs and services, primarily being our grant programs. We are the designated agency for both the local arts program and the County History Partnership Program grant. Those are state grants. The County History Partnership Program grant comes from our wonderful partners at the State Historical Commission. We also have a third grant, which is the Somerset County Historic Preservation Grant. This is our bricks and mortar, while the other two grants, the LEP and the CHIP grant, those are more program and general operating base. Here in Somerset County, we do have a bricks and mortar historic preservation. It allows us to preserve and restore many of our historic buildings, like this example here. This is the barn at the Kennedy Martinsdale Farmstead in Basking Ridge. The farmstead has received over $1 million in funding over the years to help restore this property. And now the site is a modeled example of adaptive reuse for a historic property. Farmstead Arts, which is the nonprofit that works out of this property, runs a wide range of programming in the barn and the historic farmhouse throughout the year. And they actually receive both LEP and CHIP support from us. So this is they're kind of like a model example of how they were using historic preservation funds from the county. And now that they've restored the property, they can go for programming and special project support through the other grants we offer to help kind of keep them going, keep them moving throughout all of this. We also run the county's historic marker program, which is an ongoing program to install permanent freestanding historic markers to at appropriate historic sites in the county. We run a gallery in our county administration building. We run a teen arts festival. We run some public art programs like our gallery 24/7 art on traffic control boxes, which are, if you're ever at a stoplight and there's that big silver box, and many, you're starting to see more throughout both New Jersey and the country. People are wrapping them in art, painting them, just making them something, putting art in non-traditional venues so that when you're stopped there, you go, oh, that's nice, instead of just the big mechanical boxes that we've kind of become accustomed to. We do a variety of arts and history programming outreach. We run technical assistance programs for our local nonprofits. We engage in a bunch of creative placemaking projects and programs. And we also provide our historic sites information to other county divisions and the general public. And we maintain a directory of both our county arts and history organizations and historic sites. So hopefully you are connected with your local culture and heritage commissions, because we do a lot of programming, and even if you receive funding directly from the state, doesn't mean you can't work with us on other projects and programs. We always love to connect with our local organizations. We also run a number of different events. These are just some visual examples. We do some living history events, some festivals, all sorts of fun things. And our big heritage tourism event is our Journey Through the Past. This is where we will partner with 30 historic sites throughout the county to bring this event together. We primarily coordinate the event and provide marketing for the historic sites, but it's really a great just weekend full of our historic sites being open on the same hours, same days, which is something sometimes our smaller nonprofits and historic sites struggle with. So we have kind of coordinated so that it's easily accessible to the public at least once a year. But Somerset County, creative placemaking, and the 250th. So like I said, I just wanted to give that brief intro. So again, hopefully, if you don't take anything else out of this, hopefully at least you will go and look up your local Culture and Heritage Commission at the county level. We have our state representatives, our municipal committees, there's lots of nonprofits, but don't forget us at the county level. We're here to help. We want to help. We want to work with you. We want to know you exist. We want to promote you. And like I said, there's some version of us in every one of the 21 counties in New Jersey. So Somerset County has really, taken to creative placemaking. We started several years pre-pandemic, pre-COVID, we had started looking at the 250th and creative placemaking and how we could implement it, into our plans, our projects. We look at creative placemaking as community development, utilizing arts and culture, fostering social equity, resulting in economic growth. And that can be kind of a big, kind of scary way of looking at it. But at the end of the day, it's community development, it's engaging, it's learning from each other, and also just starting to get that into our plans. And as I said, I'm under the Office of Planning, Policy, and Economic Development. We love plans here. So we've been thinking about how to prepare for the 250th. We know that in Somerset County, we are central to 9 of the crossroads of the American Revolution's 14 Revolutionary War storylines, and we know that even though we have a major collection of historic sites in Somerset County, our neighbors in Morristown, Princeton, and Trenton all have to kind of cross through us to kind of visit the different counties and the different major historic sites that we have throughout the state. So we know we're kind of primed to be, if nothing else, you have to stop by and visit on your way to one of the other major sites, even though we have a phenomenal collection of stories and history here just in our county alone. So how did we go about kind of started thinking about creative placemaking and putting it into our plans? We started actually back in 2018, 2019 with a plan that we called the Walk, Bike, Hike Somerset County Plan. The purpose of this study was to develop a low-stress, all-age network that would connect people with places and destinations. So we wanted to really, connect our locals, connect our visitors, improve mobility, safety, and all that. And we made sure that creative placemaking and our historic sites were part of this plan. And by doing that, we created the 5 Generals Framework Strategy. So this framework looks at making connections with the 5 Generals houses. The 5 Generals houses are the Abraham Stotts House in South Boundbrook, the Van Horn House in Bridgewater, the Van Vechten House also in Bridgewater, the Jacobus Vanderveer House in Bedminster, and the Wallace House in Somerville. So 5 prominent generals of the Revolutionary War stayed at these 5 different houses. We have bus tours. One of our nonprofits runs a bus tour annually with connecting these sites. But we are starting to look at it at the county end of how can we make trails, how can we make bike paths accessible to these sites, because they already have a very connected story. So that's one way in one of our plans that we've been starting to look and dive into how do we connect everything. Our most recent plan, which is the Somerset County Preservation Plan, looked at connecting elements. So this was a plan that we actually just recently adopted in 2022, and it's actually adopted as part of the county's master plan. So not just by the planning board, but as part of the county's master plan. And it updates the Somerset County Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan, the Comprehensive Farmland Preservation Plan, and created a brand new Historic Preservation Plan. This plan is believed to be the only plan in the state and possibly nationally that coordinates open space, farmland, and historic preservation into one plan. There's also a focus on tourism and goals specifically stating that the 250th should be giving priority and focus. So this plan uses tourism, resiliency, and economic development strategies to link the elements together. And to give you, this is a very lengthy plan, so I won't go into all of it, but just to kind of give you some overview, the plan really had 6 major objectives, creating Somerset County as a desirable place to live, valuable open space, improving quality of life, ensuring that county remains sustainable and resilient, encouraging local coordination, and pursuing partnership opportunities. On the Historic Preservation Plan, which is the new element we created, it had an introduction, a brief history on Somerset County history, the benefits, again, of historic preservation, historic preservation planning and frameworks, resources in the county, issues and funding opportunities, and goals and strategies. And those goals really focus on, kind of pared down. We're looking to identify, protect, and promote Somerset County's unique historic resources. We are looking to, position Somerset County as a prominent part the commemoration of the 250th anniversary. So again, we've built these into the plans, which are now incorporated as part of the county's master plan. So we can't escape the 250th because we've literally put in a document that the county has adopted saying, we are going to make this a priority. We are going to look at this. We are going to make sure that we are there at the front table, you know, in line, making sure that everyone knows that, you know, we have a rich history and we have great stories to tell here. So this plan has allowed staff at the county level to pursue an assessment of all county-owned historic properties. So looking at just starting in our own backyard, what does the county own and what status and what state are some of the county properties in? This plan is still ongoing, so I don't have anything major to report right now because we have consultant teams out looking at a majority of our properties. We have some that we've kind of sectioned off to do some separate HSRs separately, but ultimately we're looking at the majority of our county-owned properties, which do fall into county parkland for the majority. But it has also allowed us to change certain policies around grant funding for nonprofits and even increase the amount of funding available to our local nonprofits and municipalities. So before this plan was even adopted in 2022, Somerset County Board of County Commissioners increased our allocations each year for the historic preservation grant. So for the past few years, we've been allocating over $1 million each year specifically to historic preservation. It's allowed us to, this is an example of, this is a property in Greenbrook that we've been able to help them fund the restoration of this property, bringing it back to its vibrant, beautiful self. As part of this plan, the county is now supporting nonprofits in preserving properties for recreation and conservation using the Somerset County's dedicated open space, farmland, and historic preservation trust fund. The first funding partnership under this new program is the True Farmstead in Montgomery, which is co-owned by the Stroudsburg-Sauerland African American Museum and the Sauerland Conservancy. This is the 5-acre True Farmstead property. Was originally owned by a Black Union Army veteran who worked as a farm after the Civil War. So this is allowing, changing in our policies because of this plan is allowing our nonprofits to expand their reach and expand their stories. So this is, an exciting project that we just announced only a few months ago at the very end of 2022. But the Stroudsburg-Sauerland African American Museum is going to be able to tell such rich, vibrant stories now because they have this property and can help, expand their reach and their story. And so I've mentioned story and storytelling kind of a lot as I've spoken. And that's really another focus that we look at here at the county level with our, with our placemaking and our community development and our, how do we connect? And so we look at a lot of the projects and programs that we produce and how can we find other ways to engage? This was kind of necessary over the last couple of years with the pandemic. You couldn't necessarily bring people into these tiny one-room schoolhouses or tiny colonial houses. So we're finding other ways to engage. This is an example of a trading card series we've started for our Journey Through the Past event. There are trading cards that people can collect at the various sites throughout the program, but a lot of them also relate and have different infographics that kind of give you a little bit more of a deep dive into, the story, the history of the topic of the card and other fun facts. Sometimes we bring in art elements, sometimes nature elements. It's other ways to engage, to tell the story. And we continue to do that and find new ways to do that. We created a history hunt. This was a way to allow the public to go out and engage at different historic sites, at different monuments, at different kind of interesting historical relics and things found throughout the county, but they could do it on their own. They could do it as safely and as comfortably and as many or as few as they wanted to. So these are just different ways, again, that we are working to connect, to engage, and to get people interested in this topic. We've created story maps, which I think Julie will probably dive into a little bit more, but I am going to show real quick one of the story maps that we created. This is the one that we created during the pandemic. But again, to just tell the story in different ways, to engage and tell, it doesn't always have to be the same way that, you kind of get used to it. You can give snippets and then, or interesting facts, just to really, pique people's interest. I'm going to stop the share real quick and just switch over to the story map for you. All right, and I'm going to hope someone will let me know if it's not there, but this is just
Good job.
Yeah. You never know with Zoom. So again, this is our just a quick look at our story map. We used visuals. We used video components. Again, this is that history hunt that I just mentioned, how we wanted to connect, how we wanted to get people to engage in ways that they felt comfortable. We talked about George Washington, because how can you not? We had, we worked with our local nonprofits who had videos and other engaging media that we could link to this so you could learn in various different ways. It was 2020 when we produced this particular story map, and it was we were in the middle of trying to get the census numbers. So we engaged, we got good old George Washington to do a promo to get people to sign up and partake in the census. Finding just different ways to capture people's interest, get them involved, is just kind of key. Again, we had an African-American history and focusing on Somerset County related stories, which we thought was key. We had our clerk's office give samples of some of the many amazing records that our clerk office has that sometimes the public isn't aware that are sitting in our archives here at the county buildings. Virtual tour of the Stroudsburg Cyberland African American Museum, just other ways to engage. So if people can't get to the site, didn't feel comfortable going to the site, that they could still learn, that they could still be part of this. We talked about some military matters, looking at just the different interests that people have. It was just really important to us. And then, again, where history comes alive, looking at how people, different people are interested in genealogy. That's a big one. And sometimes they may not relate that to history because they may be thinking, well, my family tree. But the importance of that our local historic sites have resources for them. So making sure that people are aware of these different tools. So that's just a real quick snip of our story map, which I'm happy to share. I've got to go back to this PowerPoint if I can find it. Oh, I lost. There it is. No, that's not it. Apologies. There it is. So yeah, those were our story maps. And so we found other ways to engage. The county is currently funding a Sip and See Somerset campaign. This is working with our Somerset County Business Partnership. It's to promote our local craft beverage makers, but we that's the sip part, but the C part is engaging in seeing different aspects of Somerset County, whether it's our beautiful parks or our historic resources. We've made a point to put our historic sites that are around our various craft beverage locations in this passport, encouraging people to go out and see them, to learn about the history, not just not just the parks, not just the other attractions around, but that we have a deep history here. There we go. We're engaging with we did a wonderful exhibit recently called Farm to Frame, where we invited over 30 New Jersey artists to go out to our preserved farms for over a year and create, a visual representation of those farms. This is in celebration of 40 years of farmland preservation and the 40th anniversary of the Culture and Heritage Commission, which for us this happens to be this year. The works that was created by these artists was amazing. It, really brought light to the amazing preserved farms we have here in the county, but also, kind of, immortalizes the barns and the properties. We have a rich, history in agriculture and agritourism here in the county, and we want to make sure that that's highlighted as well. And some of our, farmers still have some historic barns hiding on their properties as well. And that's kind of where I get to finding unlikely partners. Thinking outside of the box, who have you never worked with before? Is there a connection? And I always find, especially with what we do here at the Culture and Heritage Commission, you can use art to kind of tell any story. And really, almost everything has some kind of history. So it's easy to find different ways to connect. This is a real quick project that we did with our local agriculture development board, where we created little murals to go around planter boxes at our senior centers here in the county. And it was a great fun project. One, we worked with the seniors, they got to paint, they got to engage. We worked with a local artist to help create these very simple murals that could be out there. We had our seniors paint. It was great because even if there were language barriers, they could figure out, they could pick up the paintbrush and still paint. It was a great experience for them. But even though the activity itself and the art project was lovely, what we found were like the impacts of this simple project that we didn't even think we were gonna, get what we got out of this, because it allowed us to really engage with our local seniors. We got the chance to educate them on farmland preservation and cultural and heritage services, but overall we created, a connection. And what we learned from this project was a huge takeaway, is that we didn't know prior to doing this simple little project, was that our seniors were struggling to have access to our local farm markets. And we had no idea. This was, this was a huge gap in county services, which we wouldn't have necessarily learned if we hadn't done this kind of just engaging little project. And it was huge. It allowed us to connect our agriculture development board with our Office on Aging and Disability Services, and work with our local farmers about bringing farmers markets to our senior centers, or bringing farmers markets to certain communities so that everyone could engage, you could get fresh produce. So it was a simple project. And that's something I think, everyone should think about as you're preparing for the 250th. You don't have to do mind-blowing big things right out the gate. You can start small. I know it's intimidating when we're like, it's 3 years away. But you can start small, finding different, we've been working with our agriculture development board. That was just one, that was a partnership that we were like, hey, how can we work together? Seeing who is in your neighborhood, thinking about, who's around the corner, and people and organizations you haven't connected with. Can you find a connection? Can you do some kind of project or program together to really tie it all in and bring, the 250th to the importance of everyone? Because we know that some people are going to be, our historians, our local historic site, they're going to be gung-ho, 250th. But our general public, some of them, they haven't been thinking about this for the past 5, 6, 7 years, the way a lot of us have already been doing so. So that's just something I think you should really just think about. I know Julie's going to talk about, kind of asset mapping, but it really is important, thinking about, these, who haven't you partnered with, who can you connect with, and thinking about your resources, not only just people resources, but like, what are your natural transportation, historic and cultural resources, and how can you connect them, and how can you bring the story of the 250th to that, and even just the story of America. I think that is something that is really important, and that should be, start thinking about, because that's what we're doing here at the county, to really just help tell the story as we move forward and prepare for the, these next couple of years as we really kind of lock it in. So yeah. So thank you so much. I think I powered through that. I'm probably over my time a little bit, but we have just a lot of things going on over here, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. So don't be afraid to step out and look for it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kaitlin, for that. And we did link to your historic preservation plan, and I'm sure folks have any other questions. They can please drop them in the Q&A for Kaitlin. We're going to have a Q&A at the end. And that was just such a great example of how thinking through placemaking allows us to kind of tie all these different strands together, specifically the examples of historic preservation and reuse and heritage tourism and economic development and wayfinding, right? These are all things that sometimes are not really put into conversation with each other. We know they are in the history community, but if you're at the county level and you're thinking about doing planning that incorporates the humanities and all of these other different types of stakeholders, placemaking helps you do that. And I would like to also just really do a shout out to our partners, Crossroads of the American Revolution Association, who are our nonprofit partners in RevolutionNJ, for the work that they're doing in heritage tourism and wayfinding. And they've been exploring a lot of the similar types of questions that you saw presented here in Somerset County. And when we move forward in the planning for the 250th, being able to tie together these different stakeholders and the types of things that they bring to the table is going to be key. So thank you so much, Kaitlin. I'm going to introduce our next speaker, Julie Hain. Julie Hain brings over 20 years of experience in the arts, history, and cultural sector, and is the current executive director of South Jersey Cultural Alliance. Recognized for her innovative and collaborative leadership style, Hain has worked to foster a more inclusive cultural community in South Jersey. Prior to her role at the South Jersey Cultural Alliance, she has held notable leadership positions at the Tuckerton Seaport and Bayman's Museum and the International Sculpture Center. Hain's programs such as South Jersey Cultural Asset Map and Arts and Cultural Connectors program prioritize community building, resource sharing, peer learning, and fostering a strong network of cultural professionals. Her focus on increasing inclusivity and accessibility for individuals of all backgrounds and abilities is transforming the South Jersey cultural community, making her a respected change maker in the field. Thank you for joining us today, Julie.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today and tell you all about our wonderful digital tools. And I think our first presentation led up to a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about. So it was a nice segue. So thank you for that. I'm going to share my screen real quickly here and you can take a look at some slides. I'm going to be doing a lot of sort of going back and forth to show you the actual digital tools though. So hopefully that goes well. We'll give it a shot. If not, I do have screenshots that I can share with you. And I do have links. I put a series of links in the chat. Those are links to most of the things that I'm going to be talking about. So if you want to click along at home, you can do that. I'm going to start by just kind of giving an overview of SJCA and how we came to this work. SJCA, for those of you that don't know, the South Jersey Cultural Alliance has been around for just over 30 years. We're a membership support organization for arts, culture, history, and the environment, and we represent all 8 of the southern counties. Prior to this work on the map and prior to the lockdown, which sort of changed everything for everyone, we were beginning a strategic planning process and looking at the ways that we engaged with our community and how we understood the landscape and how we were representing or not representing, as the case may be, the full spectrum of arts and culture and history in South Jersey. So we wanted to make sure that when we identified that we were not doing those things very well, that we looked at some out-of-the-box ways to address those problems. And the solution that we landed on was the cultural asset mapping project. So I'm going to, can you all see my slide here with the agenda?
Yep.
I'm just going to give you a brief overview. We'll talk about SJCA in general, the website and the digital resources there that are available for your use. And then I'll go into the map in a little bit more detail and give you kind of an overview of that work and how we make the map function and all the different possibilities with the map, some of the features. I'll show you some more of those story maps like we just saw. And then I will move into talking about the South Jersey Cultural Trail mobile application, which is new to us. We just launched that. So that's in its infancy. We're really working to develop that still. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we will wrap it all up by seeing how we can help you to bolster promotion and think about ways you can use some of these tools for your own programs, even if you're not in South Jersey, because these aren't just tools for South Jersey. They are under the South Jersey Cultural Alliance umbrella, but we built the system such that we wanted it to be a useful tool for the field. So that is open-ended and there are opportunities there. So I'm going to start by going to sjca.net. That is, of course, our main website. So we have this front-end site, which is really intended for people that are not familiar with us or are wanting just a overview of what arts, culture, and history has to offer in South Jersey. You might find that site if you're an artist working in the field, an administrator working for an organization, a visitor to the area. There are lots of different reasons you might visit, but there are pieces of information for all of those groups on sjca.net. Go back, sorry. So if you visit sjca.net, I'm going to try this and see if it works. Let me know if it switches the screen and you
I think we lost you for a second, Julie. Are you still there?
I am back.
Okay.
I'll have to share my screen again. Great. So can everyone see the South Jersey Cultural Alliance website?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is the front page where you land when you come to sjca.net. And because the South Jersey Cultural Asset Map is such a big part of all of our programs and really drives almost everything that we do, it takes a front seat on this page. So when you land at sjca.net, this is our header. You can search the map right from the header. This is on every page, so you can always get back to exploring the map. When you're looking for things on the map, you can search by keyword, you can search by county, you can search by category, which is all the various genres and different types of organizations. Or if you want to leave it open-ended, you can just click explore here, and that will then take you to the searchable portion of the map. All of these plot points here on the map are interactive, so you can click on them should you want to. You can. Yes.
Your mic's coming in a little frazzled. I'm not sure if
let me try and change my mic. It does seem like I'm having some bandwidth issues, so let me change my mic. Bear with me just a moment. How does that sound?
can you say another line? Sorry, it came in.
Does that sound better, or does that sound worse?
It sounds a little better, I think.
Okay, I have one other option here.
Oh,
See
what now? It's still a little
That one's
yeah,
not bad.
it might be a bandwidth issue.
Okay, well, I apologize for that. I could try and turn my video off. Sometimes
Sure.
that helps.
Let's see if that helps.
So we'll give that a try then. So okay, back to the map. So when you land on the interactive map, you have several ways you can search. You can type into the box for the cultural asset map. You can click on the plot points, which bring you to various different sites that you can then click on again and get to a landing page for those sites that gives you additional information if they've provided it, email, website, categories of art, and that sort of thing. So we have also individual squares here for each of the assets on the map. So I'm going to dial back a little and tell you, how we came to the map. So what is the cultural asset mapping project? It is really the visible, tangible face of the outreach work JCA has been doing. When we began this project in 2020, it was right when the lockdown was happening, and we were, working remotely. We were working with interns. So during a lockdown pandemic with a team of 5 interns, we remotely took on this project, which was to gather all of the information we could for existing known cultural assets. So we worked with our partners in the field, the county cultural and heritage offices. We worked with Sustainable Jersey, many other partners in the field that had large registers of artists and organizations, cultural groups, festivals, historic sites, all of the things that make up arts and culture in South Jersey. And we took all of that information and scrubbed it, formatted it for a database, entered it into a central repository, and then created this cultural asset map as a general sort of central register of all things arts and culture in South Jersey. So we did that because we wanted to have kind of visual record of all of the activity in South Jersey. Frequently we hear the mention of there's not a lot of arts and culture in South Jersey. Oh, what happens in South Jersey? I wanted to show everyone on the map. There are a lot of places. No one can deny when they look at our map that there is a lot of things happening here in arts and culture in South Jersey. We had about 85 when we started. Now we're just north of 1,400 cultural assets listed in our database. And like I said, that's everything from individuals to community groups, festivals, historic sites, historic societies, venues, all the things that make up arts and culture. So with the map, get back to my presentation here. There are some other supplements. So you have the map on the site, someone can find you there. Frequently, we are the first response when you Google an artist or Google a type of art. SJCA's map will show you as one of the very first results. So when you get to that site and you are a member of ours and you have an event and you want to let people know about that event, you have another option. You can visit the event calendar. So our event calendar on sjca.net is for members to list their own events. So you can see here, we've got some events listed on the site here. There are no images associated with any of these, but you can put all of the pertinent information, the title, the date, the time, the organizer, the venue, a small description, a link, and you can do that right from SJCA's main website. You just go to the page that says Learn, click on Member Events and add an upcoming member event. Or if you're on the member event page, you can click here to upload an event. You would just fill in the basic information that would come to us for approval so that we make sure that only safe things are going on the site. We would approve that, and then that would show on the member event page. So that would be part of this listing here that you can search alphabetically or by date. You can also search by keyword, or you can look for specifically for webinars or for SJCA specific events. So event calendars are tough. You know, it's difficult when you're trying to aggregate events from many different places all on one calendar for the searchability to work well without having a lot of hiccups. We tried to pare this down as much as possible to avoid some of those problems. So we do have, you know, a bare bones calendar available to you. But what every member has also is a landing page for their very own site. So when you are a plot point on this map, and if you are a member of SJCA, everyone has a plot point on the map unless they request not to. And all of our memberships are offered to anyone we find on the map. We have levels of membership that start with a free level of membership for our emerging artists and organizations. And then we have a sliding scale based on revenue. So we set up the system such that we didn't want any obstacles to people participating. The whole thing was predicated on wanting to connect, wanting to collaborate, wanting to cast a wide net, see who our neighbors were, assess the landscape, find out you know, what's happening, where it's happening, who it's happening with, and help tell that story to South Jersey and to visitors to the area. So when you arrive at someone's profile page, these are profile pages that have not been fully completed by the owners, but they can be, and you can see there's lots of white space here available for additional information. We also built this system so that it would not be static. We wanted it to be dynamic. So when we enter someone into our database, we don't want to have the, you know, the most recent phone number and website and then have to manually update that for our 1,400 newfound friends that we have acquired since we started this project. So we built the system so that everyone owns their own data, which is really nice because if you're an artist and you change an email, if you change a website, if you change a phone number, if you want to update your images, you can do all of that online. So our directory and our resource is not out of date. It's completely in the hands of the folks that are on the registry to keep their information update, and they can log on anytime to do that. And the nice thing about this system, excuse me, is that we have a central database. It lives on Esri's server, so it houses all of that data for us. If say Jenny Jones goes on and updates her email address and her website, that email and website address update is distributed to every place that map lives. So if we do a layer of map that is specific to Washington Township, or we do a map that is specific to history sites, if any of those individual sites are updated, that gets updated everywhere where that map lives, so that it is a dynamic and constantly renewing and up-to-date resource. So in addition to that, on the SJCA website, we also have a resource library and an AllianceWire blog, which we're happy to use to help promote projects that you're working on, initiatives that you have. If you just have a great tool that you want to share, if you want to write a blog about any of the programs that you're doing for the 250th, or if you would like to utilize the blog to try and seek out partners or anything that you would like to use it for to connect with the community, we're happy to let our colleagues use the blog for that as well. So you can send any of those blog posts to either myself or Shoanne, our membership and programs manager, and there's some contact information towards the end slide. So that's our website. It houses the map. It's where everyone finds and accesses the map. But it's so much more than a map. I think I said before, it's really the visible face of all of the outreach and research that we've been doing to find and understand who lives and works in South Jersey's arts and cultural communities. So this map is not a short-term project. It is going to be a long-term project that is really our tool for engaging with the community and creating a repository that doesn't just allow us to benefit from all of those engagements, but really shares that information out with the cultural community so that everyone knows who's in the neighborhood, who's working in theaters, who's working, you know, in environmental, who's got a history event happening over the weekend. It's just a really great tool for connection. So we are able to basically build anything into a map. If you can provide a Excel spreadsheet of addresses and information, we can build you a map out of that. So your options, if you're an individual artist and you're not on the map, or you have an artist you think should be on the map and you want to refer them, they can certainly fill out a form and get on the map very easily. We've set up a survey here that explains, you know, what a cultural asset is, what the project is, and how they can get involved. You fill out some basic information, who you are, where you are, email, phone number, those sorts of things. And then that gets vetted and scrubbed and put into the mapping database. You'll be given a free level of membership to SJCA if you did not choose to purchase a premium level of membership. And in that way, everyone's a part of the community. Everyone's getting all of the resources, information, invitations to updates, calls for entry, you know, opportunities to collaborate with partners. All of those things are very important, and we didn't want to put up any obstacles in the way of people participating with that, which is why we set it up that way. What's nice about the data is that we are able to take that very confusing ones and zeros kind of bare bones database and make things like this with it. So we can get a dashboard that can slice and dice that data in a visual way to make it much easier for us to understand the landscape and to share that information with others trying to understand the landscape. So this is sort of an older version of a dashboard. This has only 904 assets. And I think, like I said, we're up around 1,400 right now. But this is basically one version of a way that we can take what's in the database and make it usable for you. So if you had information that you had given us on an Excel spreadsheet and we made you a layer of map and you wanted a dashboard like this to understand your own county and their cultural assets, we could certainly create that for you and you would be able to utilize that and customize it. So we can look here by county. All of these numbers change depending on where you are, all of the maps. You can scroll in to get more detail and to see where these things are located and to click on the interactive plot points. We are trying to collect as much data up front as we can, but that can be very overwhelming to new friends who don't know us yet and who we are just trying to start building a relationship with. So we don't want to overwhelm them with a very scary 40-page survey with everything that we could ever know about them. So we start with the bare bones and then we approach it as a conversation and we reach out to those cultural assets, try and learn more about them, encourage them to log on and fill out their profile so that we can have the most complete information. The more information we have, the more information we can share and the more useful these maps start to become. So you saw one example of a story map earlier, but I wanted to give you a second example of a story map. This is a project we did for Washington Township's Green Team. They wanted a map for Washington Township that was specific to just the cultural assets in their area. So we identified a specific radius, and within that radius, we looked at all of the cultural assets that were present in that region, and you can see them with these small dots here on the map. So these are interactive. They can be clicked on. It would go to that landing page on sjca.net site. You can see the information here that we have related to each of these maps because we're in the back end, but this would be able to be visible as one of those profile pages on sjca.net's website. So this is the back end that it would look like when you get your code. We can finesse it to appear however you would like it to look, and then we can embed that code anywhere. It can be embedded on a page, it can be a hyperlink that you can share in email, or that you can share on a website with a button or a hyperlink. However you want to share that out, we make it easy to utilize those maps. So with the maps, I wanted to show you the many different formats that are available. So depending on the story that you're going to want to tell, there are a number of different ways you can utilize story maps. They pull data sets. So really they're using the same boxes that are checked as that initial map on sjca.net, but they add some other layers. So they add images, they add narrative content, you can add video clips, audio clips, all kinds of interactive information with these sites. So I'm just going to show you a couple of the different formats to give you some idea. There's a huge gallery and really unlimited options here for this. And really it's a matter of how you want to organize your information. Do you want someone to have to do a long scroll through the information? Do you want tabs or something that is formatted in a different way that's maybe a little more searchable? So this one is a full scrolling. You can see it's got lots of different images. It's got the maps embedded with them that change in correlation to what the narrative and the imagery is on this story map page. So as you're switching through, you can see it's giving you information about specific map here, and then the images are changing in correlation with that. So story maps are really a really fantastic feature. They allow us to take what is very useful but sometimes boring information and make it very visually appealing so that it's super engaging for visitors. There are any number of ways to customize these things, and we don't do this in-house. You know, I had the idea, but I'm certainly not a technical mapping guru. I needed to outsource that. We built it with interns, which I still think is kind of amazing. We had a wonderful intern from Stockton University who stayed with us for 2 years and helped to build the map from the bottom up, but then took another position. So when she left, I decided that the map was a little too important to leave it up to interns or someone that might leave for another position. So we did hire a consultancy, Heartland GIS consultancy, and they actually do all of the back end technical putting together of this. So if we were to create a story map for you as a project, what we would need from you would be the data points. So an Excel spreadsheet listing any addresses or locations that you would like to utilize on the map, and then any content that you would like to include. So if you have any narrative written content, if you have images or recordings, video, any of those things that you want to integrate, you would just need to provide those to us, or we would have to work out ahead of time that you wanted us to develop the content, which is possible, but just takes a little bit more planning so that we can make sure we have the capacity to do that. We are, despite this large project, a small staff of 2 people. So it's just Joanne and I doing all the things, but we, you know, we love this system because it makes it easy for us to be very helpful to our partners in the field. If you have an idea, we can probably put it together. And if you have data, we can definitely put it into the map and create something that is specific to your area. So you don't have to think of this South Jersey cultural asset map as truly relegated to South Jersey. We have it displayed that way, obviously, because that's the nature of our organization, but it doesn't need to be that way. And your maps can certainly look different. So there's a world of possibility. I'm going to try now to show you the app. I can't get it on the desktop, but I can get it on my mobile phone, which I've also logged into. So I am going to see about sharing that screen. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it will work. I'm not sure this is going to work. I always have trouble with the mobile sharing. I'll give it one more shot and see if I can't pull it up. Otherwise, there is a link in the chat that I included to you can get this app in the Google store or in the iPhone store. So if you wanted to click on it on your phone and download that, you can. I am afraid I'm not going to be able to get to this. Yeah, sorry about that. I wanted to be able to show you the map itself, but I'm not able to share from my mobile phone for some reason. But we can still take a look at some of the features on the app because it too is pretty exciting. This is more about the map. This is about cultural assets. I didn't go over in detail what a cultural asset is. It is basically any person, place, or thing involved in arts and culture in South Jersey. We cast a very wide net for our map. And I just wanted to spell that out there because that can be a little confusing. Okay, the app. I want to see if I can potentially get to it here. So I'm going to stop my share one more time. Apologies for the technical difficulties. Try and do a new share here. If anyone has any questions while I'm trying to pull up the app, I can certainly answer questions about the map so we don't have dead air while I am trying to get my technical ducks in a row. So I'm going to share the screen just one quick last time so everyone can see, and I will provide these slides to you too, Mark, so you can distribute them as well, because there is some good information about cultural assets. And I'm sorry I couldn't get the app to share, but I hope that you do all download the app and take a look. The applications go beyond the map and the computer. We've been working with Jack O'Byrne and the Camden Historical Society to help get them some layers of map that have ended up being used for interactive mapping walls in the Camden County area. So I'll include a link to an article about that too, so you can see that this goes beyond the map. It starts with the map, but it's really much more than that. And we're happy to partner with any organization that wants mapping projects or a story map, or in any way wants to partner with us to help champion what they're doing for the 250th. It's very important, and we definitely want to make sure that we're shining a light on what's happening here in South Jersey and what's happening around the state. So any way that we can help, we're happy to. Please reach out. No idea is a bad idea. If you're not sure if it'll work, let's talk. Sometimes those can be very fruitful conversations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. And yeah, exactly like what you said, it is great to see this tool in person and seeing how just getting all the different organizations together literally on a map helps us kind of visualize our partnerships. And just traveling around the state and talking to folks preparing for the 250th, one of the big things that we keep hearing is, how do we create some of this collaborations? How do we create these partnerships across county lines, across city lines, right? Really trying to marshal all of the resources that we have in this state to really do something special for the 250th. And this is a great start for just being able to see who's around and what they're doing, and getting a point of contact. And as everyone knows, being able to start the conversation is the first step, right? It's really continuing that dialogue, and how do you work on creating those collaborations. I'm going to introduce our final speaker for today, Gina Fischetti. Gina Fischetti works in land use and economic development planning at the Office of Local Planning Services and the Department of Community Affairs. She was recently named State Coordinator for the Main Street, New Jersey program. She represents the Department of Community Affairs on various boards and commissions, including the State Agricultural Development Committee, the New Jersey Historic Trust, and the Capital City Redevelopment Corporation. She is an attorney and land use planner with a JD from Rutgers School of Law, Newark, a Master of City and Regional Planning from the Blaustein School of Planning and Public Policy from Rutgers University, and a BA in Anthropology from Douglas College, Rutgers University. Gina has a passion for old houses, secret gardens, and bakeries. Welcome, Gina. And I will be sharing your PowerPoint. You are currently on mute.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good morning. And Mark, thanks for doing the PowerPoint for me, given my inability to figure it out. So So I'm going to be talking about placemaking today in the context of some of the services that the Department of Community Affairs offers, specifically as they relate to revitalization and reinvestment in communities throughout the state. The bulk of my presentation is going to include examples of placemaking in New Jersey. I do have one example from Massachusetts, just because I was up there about a month ago. And but before I get into those examples, I'm just going to talk about placemaking a little bit and highlight some of the programs that are offered by Department of Community Affairs. So in placemaking, stakeholders that should be include members of the public, the private, nonprofit, and community sectors, including community organizations, artists, business owners, developers, and of course, residents. Creative placemaking should highlight unique community characteristics, for example, local history, and can be used to encourage investment and revitalization of a neighborhood, region, or town. The goal is to find ways to create authentic spaces where people feel connected to the current place through history, the arts, and the current community. It's always a challenge to when you're thinking about placemaking, and I'll get into this a little bit later when I talk about the Main Street New Jersey program, but it can be thought of as branding in a way. And so as with any kind of, when you're having a branding conversation, particularly when you're talking about a neighborhood or a community or history or personal history, you want to make sure it's authentic, and it can be challenging to do that. So Mark, could we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. Oh, it's not working. Okay, there we go. So I just have some definitions of placemaking here. The first one on the upper left is from Clement Price, who's a former trustee of the National Trust and a vice chair of the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. And then down below that is a quote from the Project for Public Spaces. And then all the way to the right is a definition from the American Planning Association. Most definitions of placemaking rely on common themes like community involvement, investment, integration of the arts and artists, and personal histories, the history of place. And there's the overarching goal of making these things accessible to the people who live in an area and also the people who visit an area. Next slide, please, Mark. So as Mark mentioned, I work for the Office of Local Planning Services, which is within the Department of Community Affairs. My office provides planning services to municipalities throughout the state free of charge. We do municipal master plan work, redevelopment plans, strategic plans, and a variety of other kind of planning work. As Mark also mentioned, my office also runs the Main Street New Jersey program. I'm the state coordinator of that program. And so the Main Street New Jersey program is a community redevelopment and reinvestment program that focuses on historic downtowns. It's run by an umbrella organization called the National Main Street Center. And there are Main Street programs in almost all 50 states. The Main Street New Jersey program has been around since the late 80s. And just a little bit about Main Street New Jersey. It's run and kind of dictated by what's called the Main Street approach, which is centered on transformation strategies. Transformation strategies are goals that are come up with by members of a community, and then they are put into action through different kinds of strategic planning work. All Main Street organizations in New Jersey are downtown management organizations. They're all nonprofits. And they really take the reins and work with all of the different stakeholders that I talked about previously when I was talking about definitions of placemaking. A huge component of the Main Street New Jersey program is placemaking, and creating a connection between the people who visit a place, the people who live in a place, and the physical fabric of a place. So the programs, any Main Street programs work on transformation strategy should be organized around economic vitality, design, promotion, and then organization. And there also should be a really solid connection to local and regional market data, because at the end of the day, it's a revitalization and reinvestment strategy and program. Our office also runs the Downtown Business Improvement Zone Loan Fund, which is a it's an interest-free loan that's available to improvement districts throughout the state. That funding can be used for various capital improvement projects in improvement districts. I should also mention the Main Street program. We have a grant program associated with that as well. So the map here shows the different Main Street, New Jersey, the municipalities that have Main Street districts throughout the state. There's 25 of them. And some of them are also improvement districts, although there are many more improvement districts than there are Main Street communities. Next slide, please, Mark. So also within the Department of Community Affairs, there's the Division of Housing and Community Resources. And so I just wanted to briefly talk about two programs offered by Housing and Community Resources. That's the Neighborhood Revitalization Tax Credit Program and the Neighborhood Preservation Program. There's I don't know if you guys can read the charts, but there's 83 NRTC eligible communities, and I didn't count the NPP ones, but it seems like there's a few more. The reason why I want to mention these is because they both also have components that are devoted to neighborhood revitalization and neighborhood activities. So with NRTC, 40% of the funding that's given to those NRTC districts 40% can be given to related activities to a neighborhood. The 60% is for housing. And then in NPP, all the municipalities have been identified as being threatened but viable. So that means, well, I don't really know exactly what it means, to be honest, but they have a very clear definition that's based on statistics for those neighborhoods. And a portion of the funding can be used towards community planning and commercial rehabilitation and revitalization. So now I'm just going to get into some of the different examples of placemaking that I wanted to highlight. The first one is not in New Jersey, but as I said, I was just up in Boston last month, and I took a trip to Salem, and I was really taken with the Salem Witch Memorial, because I thought it was a really great example of placemaking in a historical context. And you know, it was the juxtaposition of this memorial and this, which is a public space, to the commercial district of Salem. It's right in the middle of the downtown. And I thought it was just a really great example. So, you know, they have quotes from all of the different people who were killed during the witch trials. They have memorial stones for all of them, and people walk through, they put flowers or just kind of, I guess, hang out in the area. It's a respite from the rest of the commercial district. The next slide just shows some pictures of you know, some of the historic buildings in Salem, which of course are, you know, very, very, very old. The next example I want to give is in New Jersey. This is not a Main Street community or anything like that, but I live in Lambertville, and I think that this is another really great example of placemaking. And it's one that has, for the most part, kind of happened on its own. So this is Lewis Island, which you can, the picture that's on the bottom left, you can see this is the bridge that goes from Lambertville to New Hope, Pennsylvania. Taken at nighttime, it's kind of difficult to see, but there's they have benches on the island. It's open to the public. The building in the current picture, the white building on the left, is the same building you can see in a couple of the other historic photos. So the island started to be used as a a fishery in the early 1700s, and to this day, it's the only remaining commercial fishery on the Delaware River. They still net shad every year. Lambertville just had a shad festival this past weekend. Most people won't eat the shad, but I actually think it's not bad. I have a friend who smoked one a couple weekends ago, and it was pretty decent, to be honest. So I just thought it was really interesting that you can see how the history of the area has continued. You have the family fishing. I don't know exactly when this picture was taken, but I'd guess 50 to 80 years ago. And the picture, the modern day picture that's in the top center of the slide, shows the same kind of fishing with the same kind of nets that happens every spring. They have a marker, and then the island is also used for community activities. It was a bathing beach. No longer, but it was used by the community as a place to swim, and now it's primarily used for, you know, outdoor recreation. People walk the dogs there. There's trails that go through the woods, and it's right adjacent to the downtown of Lambertville. So it's again similar to the Salem example. It's adjacent to a downtown, not connected to the commercial district, but is a really great example, I think, of placemaking. So the next few examples I'm going to give, starting with Mount Holly, these are all communities that are involved in quite a few of the different programs that are offered by DCA. Mount Holly is a Main Street, New Jersey community. It gets NRTC funding, it gets NPP funding, it has an improvement district. I think it also is an urban enterprise zone, which I didn't mention earlier, but those are areas throughout the state which offer 3% retail tax to encourage shopping in the downtowns. So Mount Holly has something that's called the Mill Race Village. The Mill Race Village gets its name from the mill race. There's a picture of it in the upper left-hand photo. You can see how the mill race runs through the downtown area and is really kind of a key component of the sense of place of this downtown district. There's shopping along it, there's seating for restaurants along it. They have this really lovely kind of entranceway to the shopping district. They do quite a number of events every year. I have a photo of the pumpkin carving. And here's like a little map that shows this part of Mount Holly. The other thing that's interesting about Mount Holly is on the next slide, I've included some photos of the Eagle Foundry, which was one of the largest manufacturers of turbines, of water turbines in the country. They exported all over the world. And so there's a historical photo of the building on the right. And on the left is a recently approved rendering of how that building is going to be redeveloped. It's going to have shops on the bottom, and then the top few floors are going to have housing, including affordable housing. So, you know, one of the key pieces of any kind of downtown revitalization project, of course, is having housing, and having housing that's accessible and affordable to a wide variety of folks. And so Mount Holly is really, trying to do that with this project. It's a really nice example. So the next example I wanted to highlight is the Glasstown Arts District in Millville, New Jersey. This is in Cumberland County. So Millville has had one of the area's first glass factories. It was opened in 1806 because of the soil, and there's quite a large amount of wood around there at that time that could be used to power the factories. And Wheaton Industries was then founded in 1888, and it became a large, very important part of the South Jersey economy. It was all over the United States, and they even had some branches internationally. So this district is along the Maurice River. Morris River, not Maurice, Morris River. And there's, as you can see in the upper right, they have a very nice shopping district, and they really draw on their history, their glass making history. They have a Renaissance Center for the Arts, where they provide free access to art classes and exhibits. They also have the Wheaton Arts Center, Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center, which I think has almost 100,000 people who visit regularly. I have photos of the Wheaton Arts and Cultural Center here. You can see the various kind of glass products that they have on display. They have demonstrations of glass making. And then also the center includes the Museum of American Glass, which is one of the largest collection of American glass products, I think, in the country. And then finally, in Millville, there's also the Millville Airport, which was oh, same slide, Mark, I'm sorry. This is still Millville. So the airport was used during World War II as a defense airport. And now, of course, it's closed, but the picture in the middle there of the bunk is some of the rooms in the museum that they have there. They do air shows, they have movie nights, and they have different kinds of talks all related to World War II and World War II history. Also in that airfield, they have a distillery, and I think they're also trying to get some shopping and have it be a draw for people who are visiting the arts district. So my final few examples are just, you know, the things I've been talking about so far are really like very permanent kinds of placemaking examples where they, you know, in order to make those kinds of projects happen, there's a lot of planning that has to happen. You need, you know, you need developers, you need money, and they're more long-term and take a longer time to come to fruition. There's other kinds of placemaking that is oftentimes referred to as like pop-up projects or pop-up placemaking. So these are some examples that I this slide. Oh, next slide. I'm sorry, Mark. This is downtown Metuchen. Metuchen was actually just named one of America's greatest main streets. It was very exciting, prestigious award for downtown Metuchen. But these are some examples of some of the more pop-up placemaking projects that they do in their downtown, which is a historic downtown. They don't necessarily relate to historic events or anything like that, but the idea can run through, you know. So here is an example of community yoga that they do outside. They do movies. Some other things they do that I don't have pictures of. They actually have I think they call it downtown rumble or something like that. They have a wrestling match outside. They have downtown loves dads, downtown loves moms. They do a lot of community events in their center plaza. And the picture on the downtown and the bottom right is, you know, just kind of a picture of their downtown, so you can see the context if you're not familiar with Metuchen at all. The next slide also has the next slide, Mark, please, is downtown Westfield, which is another Main Street community, which is an improvement district. Metuchen is as well. So this just gives you some, you know, you can kind of see the juxtaposition of some of the stuff that happens in Westfield with, you know, a more traditional kind of, you know, center plaza with a statue. But then during the pandemic, when, you know, people weren't doing things outside, one of the things that they did was they had giant seesaws that lit up at night that people could come downtown and kind of be able to have fun together outside. It was a really, really cool project they did. And then also just some visual interest. You know, they have this painting project they did where they painted their buildings these colors. They have the painted sidewalks. All these kinds of things are placemaking tools. They are ways that you can get people invested and interested and feel connected to a particular place. The final few slides I have, starting with the next slide, this is Dome Alley in Princeton, which I just think is exceedingly beautiful, probably because it's Princeton and everything there is beautiful. But they had an alley that starts on Nassau Street. I think it ends at a parking lot behind Nassau Street, but they, you know, made this alley into a place of they activated it, which basically means they made it into a really engaging place where instead of just using it as a place to get from point A to point B, it's a place that you can stop and look. They have these beautiful paintings, they have sculptures in there. I think they change it seasonally. And then I just have some other examples. This one is in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, of some alley activation. So this is all placemaking, right? Taking a place where maybe people would not think about it or not realize where they were, or even, you know, bother to stop for a second, but changing it into some place where people might want to stop and stay. And oftentimes in these kinds of alleyway activations, there'll be murals, and other kinds of information related to where the alley is situated. I just have one more slide after this one. I just thought this was a really neat project that this is the Philadelphia Museum of Art. They're doing expansion on one of their wings, and instead of having these kind of ugly plywood walls to shield people from the construction that was happening, they put all of these pieces of art. And so this is another example of placemaking related to work that was being done at a museum, which is, you know, of course, normally you go inside to a museum. And so I think that whenever this kind of history or art can be taken outside, it's more accessible to more people. And so I just thought it was a really great example. And then finally, my last slide just shows another interesting and engaging placemaking tool, which is if you have painting stairs. The first three are, it's the one with the colored piano keys is San Francisco. Then the one all the way to the right is in Chile, and then the one with the fish in the middle is in South Korea, and then the one with the one on the right is also in Philadelphia. So those are all of my slides, and just in conclusion, I hope that this gave some good examples of different kinds of placemaking tools and techniques, and if you have any questions, I look forward to answering them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gina. And yeah, I know we are running a little over time right now, but I do want to go into the Q&A. We did have a couple of questions. One was from Sherilyn Will, but I believe Kaitlin already answered it.
I was trying to get it in. I felt bad. I was like, we have too much to say. Between the three of us.
All right. Let's see what else we have. Yep, I guess if there are updates to the cultural asset map, I'm sure Julie would be happy to get in touch with you on that. Beth, I have one general one for folks on our panel just to get it going while folks fill up the Q&A, which is how can history organizations be in better touch with all of those movers and shakers that you guys have been mentioning, like the community planners and folks who are doing these larger initiatives like the economic development authorities?
I'll jump in. That's one of the reasons why I took a few moments in my presentation to talk about the Culture and Heritage Commission. As I mentioned, each county has some version of us, and that might be a good place to start. Because we're looking at the county and working with a lot of the local organizations. We're connected, often to the government end, both with our state representatives, municipal representatives, and even at the county level. A lot of grant funding funnels through our offices as well. So we're good people to know because we want to help. We want to connect with you. And sometimes it's hard for us to know that you exist, just as sometimes it's hard for you to know that we exist. So, that's a good place to start. I know on the State Historical Commission's website, they have a listing of all the agencies that handle the County History Partnership Program grant. That's a good way to start hunting us down and connecting. But also, if there is, we have in Somerset County, a Somerset County Business Partnership, which is like a countywide chamber of commerce. If your community has that, or even just your local municipal chambers are good places to start connecting.
Thank you, Kaitlin.
Yes, I can jump in a little too. I think Art Pride New Jersey has some great resources if you're looking for ways to engage with your municipality or your mayor or the folks that are making decisions in your local geographic region about what can and can't happen as far as programming. And obviously, if you're looking to connect with anyone and you can't find a resource on the map or somewhere that we've provided online, we love conversations. So please give us a call. If we can't find the answer for you, we know someone who can get the answer for you. So even if you don't start in the right place, it's always good just to have conversations. That's my big advice for everyone. Just go out and talk to people, show up at meetings, show up at events, show up at town halls, and meet the folks that are doing the work in your municipality or your region, and just try and have those conversations. That's all.
I do want to emphasize the town halls. That's really where everything's going on. If you ever go to those meetings and developments on the table, that's where a lot of these conversations are being hashed out. Things are being tested with the public. So definitely be in touch there. We have a question from Carrie Fellows. Hey, Carrie, can one use StoryMap to develop a project without an Esri subscription? And how much does that subscription cost?
Julie, do you?
Julie, you're on mute.
Oh, I lost my Zoom button. Sorry. So yes, you need an Esri subscription. Esri subscriptions are not overly expensive for nonprofits. It costs about $100 per license per year. The bigger problem is knowing how to use Esri. Even if you can afford the license, you will not be able to use this on your own. It is not a user-friendly, easy to manipulate kind of a system. It definitely does require some technical expertise. There are consultants that do the work. It is not inexpensive. We've been building this system we're going into the third year now, and we've built it on top of a membership system, which makes it able to be updated. So we've spent a lot of time layering this so that it would be a tool that would be able to be utilized by other people without them necessarily having to put in that huge initial investment of time and technical resources and money. So you can do it, but I would suggest partnering with folks that already have Esri or technical resources or something to help you along the path, because starting from scratch is a slow burn for sure.
And I would love to also just shout out that Esri has an awesome GIS program that the state itself, through its Lucy map, has a lot of our historic resources listed on there through the Historic Preservation Office. One last question I think that we can fit in. One is coming from Cheryl for Gina. What does NRTC stand for? She apologizes for not being able to take the notes quick enough.
Yeah, no, Neighborhood Revitalization Tax Credit.
Awesome. And are there any resources, Gina, for communities that aren't in any of these zones that are being designated as improvement zones? Are there other resources that the local planning services can help with?
Yeah, so our office is primarily made up of land use planners. So we do planning work and projects for municipalities across the state, not separate from the Main Street New Jersey work. And then the Neighborhood Revitalization Tax Credit, that's kind of like a tongue twister, isn't it? And Neighborhood Preservation Program, those aren't in my office. Those are in the Division of Housing and Community Resources. but our planning projects that we do are for the most part open to every municipality. We are sensitive to, the work of private consulting planners. So, we always try to have a conversation with the municipality about whether or not they already have retained a consulting planner to do the work that they are now asking us to do. But we really kind of focus on, we do master plan reexaminations, but then we also do individual elements, including redevelopment plans, and as I mentioned before, strategic plans. So a lot of the times those strategic plans would be related to placemaking or economic development, that kind of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, this brings us to the end of our presentation today. I would like to say thank you to all of our panelists and for those folks who attended today. We will be putting this recording up on our website and including the resource list that I've been mentioning, which is going to have all of the links that you saw shared today and the presentations, including other national level opportunities too, things that folks can tap into. And then please keep an eye out for our future in-person workshops, which we hope to hold in May and June of this year. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I hope everyone has a good day.